They say the loudest statement is silence, but sometimes the numbers scream so loud they shatter that silence to pieces. What if I told you there was a coordinated effort, a secret vote, to diminish the biggest star the WNBA has ever seen? And what if the proof was hiding in plain sight? The evidence became so undeniable that even Basketball Hall of Famer Dick Vitale recognized it for what it was, calling the vote an act of absolutely pure jealousy. That's not just an opinion, that's a confession made through the ballot box. While Caitlin Clark received a record 2.93 million fan votes, the highest in league history, her own peers secretly ranked her as only the 9th best guard in the league. 9th. Let that sink in. This wasn't a snub, it was a message. And it's the story they don't want you to hear. A story of jealousy so deep it threatens to tear the league apart from within. But the real story isn't only about their jealousy, it's about her revenge. A revenge she delivers every single night. Not with words, but by humiliating them with her success. Stick with me, because I'm going to show you the proof that the war against Caitlin Clark is real, and how she's winning it by forcing them to profit from the very person they're trying to tear down. It all began with what should have been a coronation. On August 25, 2025, Nike did what everyone expected. They officially crowned Caitlin Clark, not just with a shoe deal, but with a legacy. A signature logo, the iconic interlocking CC, places her in the same rarefied air as Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Serena Williams. This was the pinnacle of a record-breaking 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal, the most lucrative in women's basketball history. It was history in the making, a moment for the entire sport to celebrate. And from her own team, the Indiana Fever? Silence. A bizarre, deafening silence that echoed across the sports world. And no coordinated post. No celebratory tweet. No press conference to hype their generational talent. While the world celebrated, the organization that benefits most from her presence offered only the bare minimum of recognition. At first, people called it a PR blunder, an amateur mistake. But now it's clear, it was something darker. That it was the first shot fired in a Cold War. A signal that not everyone was thrilled with Clark's meteoric rise. The first glimpse of jealousy so petty that a team couldn't even bring itself to congratulate its own superstar for becoming a global icon. But the silence was only the beginning. The resentment didn't stay in the front office. It spilt onto the court in the most brutal way possible. You can see it every game, the extra shove, the hip check after the whistle, the hard foul with just a little too much behind it. You might think it's just tough basketball, that she's a rookie paying her dues. But the numbers tell a different story. The numbers expose the truth. Caitlin Clark, despite being just one player, has absorbed 17% of the league's flagrant fouls. Read that again. One player is taking nearly a fifth of the league's most aggressive and dangerous fouls. This is not a coincidence. This is a pattern. It's an undercurrent that's been visible all season. A sense that she's been left to fend for herself on the court, while taking brutal hits with no protection. That's not basketball. That's a message. A physical manifestation of the resentment veteran players feel. Analysis from commentators like Stephen A. Smith points to something deeper. Years of bitterness from veterans who excelled without ever receiving the instant spotlight Clark got the moment she stepped into the league. They believe she didn't earn it, that she didn't pay her so-called dues. So, they're making her pay another way, physically. Night after night, they try to intimidate her. To break her. To send a message that her global stardom doesn't matter between the lines. But make no mistake, she's being targeted. And it's one of the dirtiest secrets in the league right now. The physical aggression. The silent treatment from her own team. These were the warning signs. But the smoking gun, the undeniable proof of this league-wide jealousy, came with the 2025 All-Star vote. And that's when the story turned from suspicion into fact. The fan vote came in, and it wasn't close. It was a landslide. A record 2.93 million people voted for Caitlin Clark. It was a clear mandate. The world wanted to see her on that stage. The fans, the very people whose money funds the league, had spoken. But the players were given a vote too. A secret ballot where they could rank their peers without public scrutiny. And they used it as a weapon. The same players who watch Clark sell out their arenas. The same players are now flying on chartered planes because of the revenue she generates. The same players whose salaries are about to rise thanks to the new TV deals she's driving. They voted her as the 9th best guard in the WNBA. 9th. Not 1st. Not 2nd. 9th. As Dick Vitale pointed out, this jealousy is aimed at the very player who has elevated the entire league. Through chartered flights, rising salaries, sold-out crowds, and improved TV ratings. There is no basketball reason for that ranking. None. It is a statistical and logical impossibility. This was not an honest assessment. It was a coordinated, emotional, petty act of sabotage. They saw their chance to humble her, to stain her historic rookie season, and they took it. It was a betrayal of the sport itself. They were so blinded by resentment that they tried to keep the league's most popular player out of its own showcase event. They were willing to hurt the league just to hurt her. And that is the story they will never admit. So, how does a player respond to that? From her own team going silent, to opponents trying to physically injure her, to her peers actively conspiring to diminish her accomplishments, most players would have broken. They'd lash out in the media, stir up locker room drama, or let it shake their game. But Caitlin Clark, her revenge is silent, and it is devastating. Her revenge is dropping 30 points in the same arena, where players who voted against her are now playing in front of a sold-out crowd for the first time in their careers. Her revenge is every merchandise drop with the CC logo selling out in minutes, proving the fans are with her, not them. Her revenge is the soaring TV ratings every time the Indiana Fever are on national television, ratings that are filling the pockets of the very women who resent her for them. She is humiliating them by being the sole reason for the league's unprecedented growth. They have no choice but to cash the checks her popularity signs. That's the ultimate humiliation. They wanted to hold her down, but instead, she's lifted the entire league to heights it has never seen before. The chartered planes they now enjoy? That's the Caitlin Clark effect. The new sponsorships pouring in? The Caitlin Clark effect. The nightly ESPN coverage? The Caitlin Clark effect. And here's the most poetic part. After the public backlash over their silence on her Nike deal, what did the Indiana Fever do? They were forced to throw a massive celebration. They turned Gainbridge Fieldhouse into a Caitlin Was Here event, handing out free t-shirts with her logo to every fan, with Nike pop-ups scattered all over the arena. But by then the damage was done. The narrative had already taken hold. Their silence had become the story. And their response felt reactive, not proactive. They were shamed into it. Forced to publicly embrace the superstar they had privately refused to acknowledge. That is humiliation. They're not riding the wave, they're being dragged by it. Forced to smile and clap for the woman who now holds all the power. They didn't want to celebrate her. So she became so massive that the entire world celebrated her, leaving them no choice but to join in or look like fools. Her revenge isn't a headline, it's a balance sheet. And it's a warning to every player who voted against her. You can try to tear her down, but you'll have to do it while wearing the merch she made famous and playing in the arenas she sold out. So don't be mistaken about what you're watching. This is more than a rookie season. It's a hostile takeover. The WNBA has long operated on a philosophy of parity, where no single player is bigger than the collective. That was a survival mechanism. But Caitlin Clark doesn't fit that system. She breaks it. And that terrifies them. Nike didn't ask the Fever for permission when they launched her logo. They anointed her. They recognized that Caitlin Clark now holds more cultural power than her own team. Maybe even more than the league itself. She's not just an employee of the WNBA. She's a partner. And she's the one with all the leverage. The jealousy from other players isn't just about money or fame. It's about this power shift. The resentment is rooted in the fact that she doesn't need them. She doesn't need the league's machine to be a global icon. She became one on her own. And now the league needs her. The jealousy is really fear. Fear that the old way of doing things is over. Fear that one player has flipped the balance of power in their sport. And they were right to be afraid. The All-Star vote was their last stand, a desperate attempt to cling to the old world order. And it failed spectacularly. It didn't diminish her. It exposed them. It proved to the world that the resentment is real. It turned her into a sympathetic hero and them into petty antagonists. They tried to make her the villain, but instead they cast themselves in that role. That is the ultimate humiliation. But this story is far from over. The jealousy hasn't vanished just because it's been exposed, it's festering. And the next battleground is already in sight. Her signature shoe, the one carrying the iconic CC logo, is set to launch in 2026. It will be another global event, another moment where the spotlight shines directly on her. The question is, will the league and the players have learned their lesson by then? Will they finally understand that her win is their win? Or will the jealousy boil over into something even more public, even more destructive? The story isn't finished. They try to vote her down, but she's only rising higher. And now the choice is theirs: rise with her, or get crushed under the weight of their own bitterness as she continues to humiliate them with a success they can't stand, but are forced to accept. The truth is out there.